Awesome. So hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. My name is Tomola Abiodun. I'm the founder of Titanium Consulting. I'm also known as Anu, and I am excited and happy to welcome you to our webinar, Funding Options for the MBA Program. If you're new to Titanium Consulting, I would be going through what Titanium Consulting is, who we are, basically, the services we offer, and how we can help you achieve the next steps of your goals through the graduate school program and also through advancing your career objectives through getting a job, not necessarily through academia all the time. Today, we are going to be talking about funding options for the MBA program. I understand that we have a whole lot of interest in the MBA program, and the funding options for the MBA program is something that a lot of people always wonder, they always talk about, because I mean, we all want to know that we have the capacity and funding to actually achieve our goals. And the MBA program is one that is really very expensive. So what are the options available for you? How do you make the best of this program? And how do you actually fund your MBA without breaking? Because the first thing that comes to the minds of a lot of people is, I actually do not have the money to actually pay for the MBA program. But there are several options that you can leverage, even if you do not have the money to pay for your MBA program. So just admit a few people to the call and then proceed. Please feel free to type your questions in the chat box. If you have any questions, type your questions in the chat box. A member of the Titanium Consulting team will be attending to all of your questions. And there are no stupid questions here. No matter how silly you think your questions might be, they are not silly questions at all. It's important that you ask questions so that you're not misled. It's very, very important to ask any questions at all. So feel free to type the questions in the chat box. It's either I answer the questions, I pause the presentation to answer the questions, or a Titanium Consulting member would actually be answering the questions. So who am I basically? I introduced myself. My name is Tomola Abiodun. I'm also known as Anu. I work as a technical product manager for Microsoft. I have been in my role for 4 years and 2 months. I started at Microsoft in marketing, where I worked in app innovation for go-to-market strategy for the US market. And for the last 1 year and 3 months, I have worked in, or I presently work in technical product management, where I help engineers define product strategy, product requirements for building our data governance solution within the Microsoft ecosystem. I graduated from Ohio State, the Ohio State University in 2019 with my MBA. And prior to that, prior to the MBA and coming to the US, I used to work at PwC Nigeria. I worked there for about 3 years and 10 months, and that's where I got my accounting certificate. Sorry. Good, awesome. Yeah, that's where I got the accounting qualification from Nigeria, which is the ICANN qualification. So I'm basically an accountant that transformed to be somebody that works in marketing, and then now I work in engineering. So I have a diverse experience across board, and I really enjoy it because I feel like every couple of years I reinvent myself. I learn something totally different, and I'm not afraid to try out new waters. And yes, I have done several things. Doesn't mean I'm jumping with the bandwagon. No, I'm not. I actually have deep reflections and understanding of where I think I want to go in the next future, and then I use that to envision, okay, what do I think I should do? Where do I want my life to be in 5 years? How can I prepare for that life so that I can be happy in 5 years? And something that I always share with people is, you don't have to be rigid about your goals. You don't have to, you don't have to be rigid about your methods, right? Yes, you have a goal, but you don't have to be rigid about your methods. So make sure that you give yourself time to reinvent yourself, give yourself time to think through things very differently, because what you're really hell-bent on that you have to do might not really be the path, right? You have different paths, you have different ways, you have different directions that your careers can. So a little bit about Titanium Consulting. So I started Titanium Consulting when I graduated from the Ohio State University in 2019. So Titanium is basically 4 years and a few months old, like 3, 4, 5 months old. And it's been really amazing. I started Titanium Consulting based off of my own experiences as a graduate student, and majorly my career challenges that I faced. In my first year, I faced a whole lot of career challenges. And yes, I was able to reinvent myself. I was able to learn from my failures. And I decided, okay, I don't want people to fail the way I have failed. I want people to learn from my own experiences so that they don't make the same mistake I have made, and that's why I started Titanium Consulting. So Titanium Consulting is focused on two main aspects, like helping young professionals and students accelerate their career and educational pursuits. That's why you see Titanium Consulting has graduate admissions coaching, and they also have career coaching, not just for graduates, but career coaching also for undergrads and for young professionals and people just seeking to advance their careers, like job search prep, interview prep, irrespective of if you're a current graduate student or not. Our vision is how we would be the plug, connecting students and ensuring that everybody, right, is ready for their next opportunity, because what always happens is you always get opportunities. So opportunities are abundant, but are you ready for that opportunity? How do we prepare you to be ready for the opportunity that you're going to take or that you're going to have in the next couple of months, in the next couple of years? So I would always say Titanium Consulting is a school. It's not somewhere where you come and they do things for you. It's somewhere where they teach you how to do things for yourself. Yes, you are handheld and you are coached, but you should be able to have a mind of your own, and you should be able to have a lot of your own drive, right? Your own passion, and then we push you towards that direction. So a lot of times people ask, oh, is this just an agency? Well, I don't know what people mean by agencies, because like anything can mean anything. But from that standpoint, that's not what Titanium Consulting does. We don't help you apply to schools. We don't help you write your essays. We don't help you do any of those things, because we strongly believe that if you are interested in graduate school, then you should be mentally ready to actually take on all of this rigor, because graduate school is not easy. So if you have the mindset of things will be done for you, then Titanium Consulting is not really the right place for you. If you know that you want somebody to teach you, somebody to hold your hand at every step way, someone to let you know that, oh, this is what you should be doing at the right time, then Titanium Consulting is the right place for you. Envision it like an example as if you go to school, like your colleges or where you have graduated, and you take an exam, your lecturer teaches you, you take an exam, you get 70%. In a traditional school, that's your score. You have scored 70%. But for Titanium Consulting, it doesn't stop there. Yes, you have gotten 70%, but the Titanium Consulting team is going to work actively to see how do we move you from 70% to 100%, which means we are dedicating 100% of our own time, and you need to also dedicate 100% of your own time, right? That's why our values are you being able to fail fast and forward, active collaboration, diligence, and resilience. The very key ones. You have to be extremely diligent and you have to be very resilient. I know that I've taken a couple of minutes to really talk about Titanium Consulting and their values, just so that you have a good idea in case you want to schedule a one-on-one with me after this conversation to just talk through what Titanium Consulting actually does more and how we can help you. Titanium Services will be including the link to schedule a one-on-one session with me if you're interested in doing that. So for our success stories, pretty quickly, a few of our clients have gotten offers in this institution. This is just a few of the hundreds of institutions and companies actually that our clients have been able to land offers, full scholarships, and jobs at. Now, we offer different services, like I said, career and admissions. But from an admissions standpoint, we have one-on-one admissions coaching, which we are actually taking clients for the second round, because first round is pretty much done at the moment. We have blended services, which is a combination of our admissions course and a one-on-one service. And then we have our admissions course for people who just want to do things on their own and they just need a course to guide them. We also have like individual services. So if you just want to have your resume reviewed or your essay reviewed or your recommendation letter reviewed without having to have like a long-term commitment with Titanium Consulting, we also have that. And from a career standpoint, we have different career services and boot camps for graduate students, incoming graduate students, and students that are currently in school, and then young professional career services for people that are already done with school and they're thinking about how to actually get into the workforce, or even they're already working and they're trying to get a promotion, they're trying to get a different job. So if you're thinking about doing any of those things, even in your home country, it doesn't have to be internationally, just send us a message or schedule a one-on-one with me, and then I'll be able to take you through some of our services and how that can. Awesome. And please, I would advise that we put ourselves on mute while we're having these sessions, please. So Mercy, please put yourself on mute. Thank you. Awesome. So remember to type all your questions in the chat box. Now, funding options for the MBA program, right? When we think through the MBA program, like I said in the beginning, what people just hear is, oh, the MBA program is super expensive. Yes, the MBA program is expensive. That's the truth. That's because the MBA program is a huge investment. And if you're coming to the MBA program, you're seeing that you are investing in your life, you're investing in your future. So yes, it is very expensive. But in reality, like, how many people can actually afford to pay $150,000 and $200,000 for graduate school education, especially people that are international students? This is something that is difficult, it's tough. It's not something that you can just shelf out. Like, for a lot of people, they even have saved money, but because of the devaluation of the currency of their country or other challenges, they're not just able to make that kind of money or have saved up that kind of money. But you still have to go to graduate school if you want to go to graduate school. And that's why the MBA programs have various ways of you funding your program without you having to bother so much about, oh, do I shelf out my own money, or are there other opportunities for me to get funding? Now, we're going to be going through different funding options and different funding opportunities for the MBA program. So give me 1 second. And please feel free to ask questions in the chat box. No. So there are 3 main types of funding, right? 3 main types, right? And I think there are 3 main types of funding, right? We have personal and self-funding, we have scholarships, and we have loans. The reason why I said personal and self-funding is you cannot take out the fact that people actually do have their own money. A lot of people, their parents have invested a whole lot since they were born, actually, for the MBA program. You're going to see scenarios like that. People have trust funds. So yes, the first way to actually fund your program is personal and self-funding. Yes, we have a lot of people that are not in this bucket, but there are also people that are within this bucket. So within personal and self-funding, I crafted out a category. It's not necessarily personal funding, but it is employer-sponsored funding. So this is when your employer themselves are the ones that sponsor your education. This is not an impossible situation. In fact, it's actually a common situation for certain Fortune 500 companies that fund the education of their employees in the graduate level, right? There are some employers that give you some amount of money towards graduate education. There are some employers that actually give you the entire money for a full-time MBA program, but all of those come with conditions, right? So if your employer is going to give you a whole lot of money for your full-time MBA program, some of them come with conditions, meaning, oh, you're going to have to work with the company for 2-3 years or for 5 years, depending on what is agreed by your employer and you. But that's actually a very big part of funding the program, employer funding. And for most companies that their employers actually fund their education, you would see that a lot of the managers or the partners or people that are in the higher positions in the companies actually have MBAs. So they encourage people to actually do have MBAs, and that's why they actually fund those programs. But yes, that might not be the reality for a lot of people. Now we have scholarships. So scholarships and fellowships, a lot of times people are asking, oh, what's the difference between scholarships, fellowships, graduate assistantships, graduate research work? Now, generally, scholarships, fellowships, school scholarships, fellowships, graduate assistantships, they are all forms of funding that come from the university. right? So we have external scholarships. That's something I'll talk about later. So all of those things come through the university. All of those kind of funding come through the university. And irrespective of how they're categorized, some of them mean almost the same thing, right? Now, for some scholarships are not, some of the scholarships are not binding on anything. So if a school says, oh, I'm giving you a $40,000 scholarship, and that's just it. Maybe the scholarship has a particular name. But some are binding. They're saying, oh, they're giving you a $40,000 scholarship. And in return, you are going to have to work with the school admissions team for recruiting people from maybe your country or from your region. That's not really a graduate assistantship, but it's kind of like a conditional scholarship, right? That they expect you that you would work with the admissions team to recruit people from your region. So for me, for example, at The Ohio State University, I've got the Scholarship for Africa, which is provided to one African per year. And this was 2017, yes. It wasn't conditional like that, but it just stated that, oh, I will be working with the admissions team to see how I can recruit more Africans. So basically trying to recruit and get more people to know about the Scholarship for Africa and get more Africans interested in the scholarship. So I spent like my first semester, it wasn't like a structured work, but I sent like emails to people that have said they're interested in the Ohio State University, that you're from Africa. And yes, I've been able to talk to a whole lot of people that had that interest, right? That was some fun, right? But I've also had people that have gotten fellowships from the university. So there are also scholarships, but they are not as binding. So we have Ohio State University fellowships, and they have some graduate fellowships that are for people that are very exceptional based off of their undergraduate GPA and based off of their test scores. They just give them these fellowships. It's not binding on anything. Now, the thing about fellowships are, some fellowships are capped at, oh, you can only get this fellowship for a year. Like, it's only given to people for just 1 year. And then some scholarships are for like your entire 2 years. For some scholarships, they're for just 1 semester. So they have their own timelines, and they are capped in their own ways, right? But they're not very different. The entire thing is the funding is coming from the school. Now we have the graduate assistantships. For the graduate assistantships, this is clearly stated that you are going to be working for the school. For some of them, it's 7 hours a week, 10, 15, 20, to maximum of 20 hours a week. They expect you to work. And then in exchange for that, they actually maybe get all or part of your tuition waived, and then they give you stipends, or they give you, I think they call it stipends. I'm not going to call it salary or graduate assistantship salaries, right? Now, those are much, much structured, right? They're not just telling you, oh, just talk to students. No, you actually have like a job that you're doing. So it's either you work as a TA, which is working with a professor, or you probably work in an office. So maybe you work in administration, maybe you work in career services. You actually have to go clock in, you do your 10 hours a week, you do your 15 hours a week before you get paid. So I actually had like my peers at Ohio State that had graduate assistantships, and they actually had to work 20 hours a week. So they actually got their tuition. Like if you have 20 hours, I think you have your tuition fully covered, but they actually had to work they worked for the entire semester. Now, one thing that you need to know about like the scholarships are, a lot of them are also hinged on, oh, your scholarship, your fellowship, your graduate assistantship would only be renewed if you get a minimum CGPA. So you can't just get into school and then you fail. They're going to withdraw everything that they have given you. So you need to also hold up to a minimum CGPA program. CGPA in the MBA program, right? So that's more on like the scholarships, the fellowships. But I'm sure you're all wondering, oh, okay, so how exactly do we get this scholarships, this fellowships, this graduate assistantships? Well, for most programs, you actually do not have a separate scholarship application from your admission application. You do not. Your school will evaluate you for a scholarship opportunity based off of the strength of your application, compared to the class profile and the availability of funds in their pool, right? There are some specific scholarship essays, though, in certain applications that you would be writing, but they are within the MBA application portal. You're not applying for it outside of the MBA application portal. Now, it's very important to know that no school no coaching company will guarantee you a scholarship or a funding opportunity. You know, I see a lot of things online and I see, oh, we have these 20 schools with this amount of scholarships. First of all, those things are very misleading because it's not actually the truth in the sense of it's being the truth. They are just options available, but they are not guaranteed, right? So when you see things online and say, oh, if you apply to this school, you guarantee graduate assistantship, that's just a lie. And I see this and I'm just like, why are you guys lying? That is a huge lie. Nothing is guaranteed. Nobody can guarantee you any scholarship. Nobody can guarantee you any opportunity, a funding opportunity. Everything you get, everything you do is a probability, right? Your probability increases or decreases depending on the factors like the strength of your application, the class profile, funding availability within the school, your scholarship grants available, the application round you submitted in, how you align with the school values, your recommendation letters, your essays, your resume, your interviews, the story you're trying to tell, particularly in your essays, how much you have done a lot of networking, how they like you, basically. Right? Those are all of the things that come into play. But even if you've done everything 100% right, it still doesn't guarantee anything, right? But that's where on your own part, you need to make sure that, okay, this is a probability, this is a scale. I need to make sure that I do everything to increase my chances and push me up the ladder with the scale, right? So now, to ensure that you now stand the best chance of being awarded a scholarship, you need to make sure that your application is really airtight, right? And then the questionable parts of your application are well explained and complemented in other stronger parts. If you've attended a couple of Titanic consulting webinars, you would have seen where I spoke about like the different areas of the graduate school application process, different things that the admissions team considers, and everything that makes your application actually wholesome. So you should look through everything and say, for example, I have low undergraduate GPA. What exactly do I do? Now, yes, your undergraduate GPA might be low, but you need to be able to complement it in other parts of your application. And this is not where you will just rush through the entire application. There's nothing to rush about. You need to really take your time. So yes, there are other things that complement your low undergraduate GPA, like the kind of work you have, your standardized test score, your other qualifications, professional qualifications, if you've had like a master's degree, right? And you need to know that everything is a gradual process. Sometimes I see people's applications and, oh, their undergraduate GPA is really low. They don't really have very good work experience, and they just have a huge GRE score, GMAT score. First of all, that's very questionable, right? So if your undergraduate GPA is very low and your test score is so high, and that's the only thing you have in your application, that is questionable. And if I see it as questionable, please note that the admissions team also see it as questionable. So you need to make sure that your application tells a story. Yes, you had a low undergraduate GPA. So what have you done since you graduated 5 years ago, right? It's not now that all your work, you're just doing it now. So what have you done? Have you taken professional qualifications? What kind of experiences have you had? What have you done to showcase that you can take on the rigors of the MBA program? What have you done to showcase that you are quantitative enough and you have the capabilities to actually survive the rigors of the program? Have you taken professional qualifications like the CP or the CP equivalent? Have you taken strong qualifications in your role? Do you work with data? Are you very quantitative heavy? Like those are the things that you need to have done to show that you are ready and you're prepared. Right? So don't think that, oh, if I have a low GPA, the only thing that I can do or what I can do to just rectify it is just by having a very high standardized test score. That's not the only thing you can do. No. In fact, that being the only thing that you have done is a red flag because it doesn't just align well. So your application must tell a story and it has to flow. So those are the kind of things that will help you and we help evaluate as a Titanic consulting client. So if you have any questions regarding that, we're happy to jump on a call with you. I believe that we have free profile evaluations that we are providing to candidates. So if you're interested in a profile evaluation, please just let us know. Now, something else on the scholarships is you also need to understand the scholarship trend of the school. Now, things change, right? And I'm sure because as mentioned, oh, I got a scholarship for Africa from Ohio State. Everybody's like, oh, let's go apply to Ohio State. It doesn't really work like that. Things change year on year. Like I graduated 4 years ago, more than 4 years ago. So I got into business school 6 years ago. So that things have moved, things have changed, things have evolved, right? So because somebody got a lot of funding in the previous year does not automatically reflect or mirror funding in the present year. But it's still a very good way to assess your options, right? So you just need to gauge, ask questions, ask current student questions. Although I don't really want you to, when you have a conversation with students, admissions committee, the first thing you say is, do you give 100% scholarship? That's very weird. Like if somebody comes to meet me and tell me that, oh, you give 100% scholarship, and that's the first question they ask, I will just mark you off. Like I don't think this person is ready, and I don't think this person is even prepared. The person doesn't even understand what the MBA program is all about, right? So you don't want the impression that you are giving to the admissions committee is that the only thing that you are thinking about ever is scholarships. No, that's nothing else. That's not what you want to give off, right? You want to give off that you're passionate. You want to give off that you are excited, right? So you're asking a whole lot of questions about like your interest, about your goals, how the school will be a good fit for you, and then asking about, oh, do they have like graduate assistantships? Not just coming to say, oh, you have 100% scholarship. Don't just ask people that. Like it's not a charity organization. Like even if you get 100% scholarship, even if you get a fellowship, somebody is paying for it. So it's not charity. Somebody's actually invested. So it's your job to convince them to invest in you. And imagine if somebody comes to meet you the way you are and just says, oh, just give me money. And the person hasn't showcased anything, any skills to prove to them that they should give that to you. Would you give it to the person? You most likely wouldn't. So why do you expect the schools to also do that for you? So those are the things that you should actually consider, right? So that's like all on like the internal scholarships, fellowships, and graduate assistantships. If you have more questions and you have to think through, you want us to help you brainstorm how you can position yourself well, you can reach out to us. You can send us a message. You can also sign up for our ebook that talks a little bit more about these things. We have a free ebook. So Tatanara Services will also be including that in chat box if you're interested. And yeah, we can have a conversation about those things. Now we have our loans, which is very interesting for today. Now, for loans, domestic students, that's the students that are in the country, they are from the country where they are schooling. They have access to various loan options like federal student loans. They have different loans. And a lot of their loan options actually have lower interest rates. I mean, they're domestic students for a reason. Now, for international students have limited loan options, right? But we have loan companies like Prodigy and Empower, Ascend, Discover, Nest, 8B that actually offer international students loans. However, not all of them offer loans without a cosigner. So right now, Empower, Prodigy, and 8B. 8B is not written here, unfortunately, but they provide international students with loans without the need for a co-signer, right? Now, the program and the schools that they provide loans for are limited, though. So you have to go check on their website to confirm, oh, is your program and school approved for the loans under those providers? And then we have other options like Discover, Salime, Ascend. They can provide loans for students, but you need a co-signer who is a citizen or a legal permanent resident of the US. Now, one thing is a lot of times people just feel, oh, I have a family member here. The person should be able to co-sign for me. First of all, co-signing a loan for you is a serious thing. If someone co-signs a loan and you don't pay back the loan, the person is held accountable for that loan. So don't assume that somebody would want to co-sign a loan for you. That's why, for the most part, I always advise that you need to try to get a loan through Empower or Prodigy as an international student, because that's less burden on a lot of other people, and 8B right now. And then also there are other options. So there are schools that actually co-sign for you. So there are schools that you can get loans from Discover or other means, and the school actually co-signs for you. There are schools that have I can't remember, they have some form of loan structure where they provide loans for their students, right? So yes, they have credit unions that provide loans for their students. I know Cornell does have a credit union now called I think, yeah, they use Quorum Credit Union to provide loans for the students. I think Duke co-signs Discover loans. Their schools actually do provide the loans, like WashU provides the loans. So there are schools that actually do provide these loans. So if you're thinking about schools and you're thinking about prioritizing the schools that you're going to apply to, you should also try to prioritize schools that would either provide you the opportunities for the loans, or they can co-sign, or maybe you have a higher chance of funding. Because imagine if you get admitted to the school, you don't get scholarship, okay, that's one thing, and you're not able to get a loan through Prodigy and Empower, that's another thing, and then the school doesn't co-sign for you. So you need to consider all of those things, right, when you are selecting the schools to actually apply to. Now, today I'm going to be taking you through the differences between like Prodigy and Empower. And before I do that, I'm going to be sharing a Prodigy link in the chat. So Titanium Consulting has a Prodigy UTML link, which is we are a Prodigy partner. And if you want to apply for a Prodigy loan, you can use the Titanium Consulting Prodigy link for the loan application. And you can actually just send us a message more about, okay, how exactly do you think you can be more, I would say you can increase your chances of getting the Prodigy funds. Because for Prodigy, I know that a lot of students have had a lot of rejections with Prodigy, and yes, there's a skill to it, there's an art to it, and there's also timing, right? So the earlier you apply for a Prodigy loan, the better your chances are of getting the funds actually. So if you want to apply for a Prodigy loan, you probably have gotten admission in your first round and you're thinking of applying for Prodigy, please just reach out to us. You can use the link and reach out to us, and we're able to just talk through a few things, just letting you know the things you should do to increase your chances of getting your loan, and just assessing where you are. So now, main difference is Prodigy actually offers loans to applicants from more countries, right? They don't require cosigner, credit history, or collateral. Same for Empower, but Empower also offers loans to DACA students studying in the United States. They also don't need a cosigner, credit history, or collateral. Now, for the loan amount and coverage, Prodigy is able to cover the 100% cost of your tuition. Empower covers only 80% of your total cost of attendance, right? So which includes your tuition, your fees, and your living expenses. One thing you need to know to increase your chances of getting your loans approved from these institutions, you can't just come and say you have zero naira, $0 or £0. You need to actually have some money, right? So because think about it, like they are investing in you, they also expect you to co-invest, right? So if you're thinking of getting a loan, once you're filling the application, they're going to ask you, okay, so how much do you have, right? So you cannot have zero. They don't expect you to have the $100,000 or $150,000 that you're trying to get, but they don't expect you to also have zero. And then something that I also know for Empower, I think Empower is capped at a particular amount. I don't know if they're able to provide above $50,000 now, but at the point it was just $50,000. They're capped at a particular amount. Prodigy caps based off of your school and your program, right? So you're also capped at certain amounts based off of your school and your program. Then for your interest rates, now the interest rates are, well, I wouldn't say they are fluid, basically, just like other interest rates. It goes with like the economy, what's happening right now. To be honest, right now, interest rates are really, 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 really high. So that means the interest rates for Prodigy and Empower will be high, much higher than the interest rates for Discover and Salimi, and they'll be much higher than interest rates for other companies that require like a co-signer, or other companies that are just like the federal student loans, right? The interest rates would definitely be higher for Prodigy and Empower. Now, all of them have like an online application, and they majorly consider credit history. Now, this is one thing for most people here. I believe they're from some part of Africa, right? Maybe West Africa, East Africa. I'm not too sure where everybody is joining from. One thing about your credit history, which a lot of people do not know, and I had a few clients facing challenges, is people do forget that they have negative balance. So it will be really good if you actually did check your banks, all the banks that you have, and check if you have any negative balance. If you actually do have a negative balance, even if the negative balance is less than $1 or less than $10, it's going to show to Empower and Prodigy that you have a bad balance. And it's not like they have other ways of help of considering your credit history as an African, right? Or someone living outside of the United States, if that's your situation. So they just decline those applications. I've had people who did not even know that they had overdue balances. So go check that if you have a due balance or not. So you can check it now, because it takes a long time for you to clear those things. Even if you've cleared the balance, the credit bureau for your country might take a long time to actually clear it, to make it green. So make sure that you go check your credit history right now. Just Google credit history for your country. I don't know if you have to submit any form, but there's a way they evaluate it, and then you're able to see if you owe or you do not owe. If you owe, please pay the balance that you owe, because you don't want it to be in 2 months' time and you're trying to apply for a loan and everything. Yeah. So for additional supports, like a lot of these loan companies provide different supports. Like I know Empower provides like career support and guidance. They have all of these things, but a lot of students don't know that they have a lot of this support and this guidance. So you just need to make sure that you tap into like the additional support and guidance that they provide. So please type all of your questions in the chat box. So basically, we've gone through like the personal funding part, you getting loans from your organization. We've gone through like the scholarships, fellowships, graduate assistantships, and also the loans. And now I don't think we haven't really gone through external scholarships. Now, external scholarships they're actually a thing. And there are a few people that have been able to get 100% external scholarships. Now, for external scholarships, they have other things that are binding, not really with the school, but with the organization. So, for example, for Chevening, I know you have to come back to the country, to your home country. I think stay in your home country for about 2 years or something. We have a particular, I can't remember the name. I know there's 7-Up. I don't know if 7-Up Harvard scholarship actually is binding in any way, but there's also a Stanford scholarship that you also have to come back to Africa. So you need to look through a whole lot of these external scholarships. For some of you, if you're thinking of, oh, I actually want to work in the country of my MBA program for a while, and I want to work for 2-3 years, and then the scholarship is binding, maybe that scholarship is not the right scholarship for you. But if you're thinking, oh, I want to just come back home after a year or two and then leverage the learnings from my MBA program to be successful, then it makes sense, right? You can actually leverage some of those external scholarships. For the external scholarships, you have to work on them on your own. They are very different from the application from the school. Of course, it's external scholarships. We have a list of external scholarships, if you reach out to us, that you can prioritize and look through for your MBA program. And please know that some of these external scholarships do not come in, oh, they're giving you 100% funding. No, your external scholarships can come as low as $5,000, $10,000, depending on who is giving the scholarship and depending on a whole lot of things for the external scholarships. So please make sure you type your questions in the chat box. So the summary of everything that I've said is to increase your chances of getting good funding, scholarships, you need to overall improve the profile of your application, making sure that your application stacks really well compared to like the class profile, and also compared to the class profile, basically, compared to people that have previously attended the school. And you just need to stand out and be very, very competitive, because look at it as you're trying to convince them to invest in you. You yourself, when you look at yourself, are you convinced to invest in yourself? Having that self-reflection would actually help you push yourself and improve your chances of actually landing good funding and landing scholarships in the program. Now, scholarships are not everything. Like I said, the MBA program is a huge investment, so you can always get loans. But for getting loans too, I'm sure you have seen a lot of people having challenges with their loans. You need to apply early for your loan. You need to make sure that you don't have any overdue balances for your loan, because if you do that, you are automatically not you're not eligible for those loans. You can also prioritize schools that co-sign loans for you, or schools that provide the loans themselves. That will help reduce the burden of you trying to figure out, oh, how do I get the loan? Where do I get the loan from? And then if you're thinking about applying through Prodigy Finance, that's if you've applied in the first round or second round, we have our Prodigy Finance link here. If you want to apply to if you want to apply for the loan, you can just use the Prodigy Finance link, and you can schedule a one-on-one with our team using the calendar link also here. And we're happy to talk to you to just learn more about what you're interested in, where you are right now on your MBA journey, because I know we are all in different places for our MBA journey. And wherever you are, let's see how we can help move you or move the needle to see how you can achieve your goals. If you're thinking of coming to grad school in 2024, I would advise that you start working right now. First round nearly done for a lot of schools. For a lot of schools, they have middle of October for the deadline for the first rounds, but we have second rounds in I think we have second rounds in January. There are some schools that have their second rounds or first rounds in November, so you're still able to apply to those schools. I don't advise people to apply in third round. Sometimes a lot of the funding is gone. Opportunity to even get a seat in the program is also gone then. So just the product overview again. We do a whole lot from career services to admission services, depending on what you are interested in. Our admission services actually go through school selection, networking conversations, coaching, resumes, essays, recommendation letter reviews, admission interview prep, your scholarship evaluation and negotiation, depending on what you're interested in. And if you're thinking through your career services, you want to transition like your individual experiences from where you're at to where you want to be, you're thinking about how to land a job internationally, or you want to go through our Head Start program, this is for incoming graduate students, or you just want to do better in your interview prep for any job or any interview that you're having, please feel free to reach out to Tatiana Consulting. Now, for our MBA candidates, we have the free MBA application ebook. And we also have our MBA admissions course, the Admit MBA. So if you are interested in having access to the free MBA ebook, the Admit MBA is not a free course, it's a paid course because it's hours and hours of learning, self-paced learning with assessments, exams, videos, things to read that takes you from zero to actually hero. Everything you need to prepare yourself to achieve success in the MBA program is included in the Admit MBA course. So if you're interested in having access to either to both, please just use the link. Tatiana Services is going to include it in the chat. It's the bit.ly ebook form link. And we're going to be giving you access to the free ebook. And then we'll be putting you down for our MBA Admit course. And once it is launched in a couple of days, they will be giving you access to it. So do we have any questions? Tatiana Services, do you want to include the bit.ly link with the proper URL so when people click, it can take them there? Thank you. So Messi, your question isn't clear. You said how to write the GRE. What does that mean? Like, what do you mean how to write the GRE? Do you mean how to register for the program? If you want to register for the GRE program, you can just go online. The website is ETS. You can register for the program through the ETS website. So do we have any questions? Does anybody have any questions, or do we have all of the answers? We're 10 over 10. Do we have all of the answers that we need?
Hello, good evening. I'm trying to find the chat box. I'm having issues. Can I ask my question here?
Yeah, you can ask your questions, Victor.
All right, good evening. My name is Victor. So I would like to ask some of the schools we had. I've had a few webinars with some of the schools, and they always talking about the loans and how to also get information from these lenders about the loans. But for me personally, I've not been able to generate my credit score, for example. I've been trying and trying and trying. So I don't know if that's a major problem for me. Must I must I have like must I must I be in the records of someone that has a credit score in a bank or in any financial institution? Must it be that I have collected a loan and I have done very well with it by paying back on time before I am eligible for all these credit or loans from um, these loan lenders you just talked about?
Okay. So yeah, very, very, very good question. So the thing is because yes, you're Nigerian, and for a lot of people from West Africa, Nigeria, it's not really like the way it is in like the developed countries where you have like a credit card, you spend from your credit card. It's not a culture that we have, right? So most times people have just like maybe car loans. They have, I think, mostly car loans that most people have. So you don't really need to have a credit history per se, but you don't need to have, but you all you need to not have is a bad credit history. So there are situations where when you mistakenly overdraw your bank account. So I technically actually I feel like I have a Zenith bank account that I had when I was working at PwC, and I literally already stopped working there, but they kept charging some particular amount. So right now, I think the balance is a negative 500 naira, which is is half a dollar right now. But if they were going to check my credit history in Nigeria, that probably would be an overdue balance. And if I was going to get a loan from Prodigy or Empower, probably they're not going to give it to me. So that actually is something that you should look out for, right? So I just actually saw that balance, and I'm just like, oh, they've been debiting me for like for years. They've just been taking like some small amount of money, and then that has thrown the account into a debit. So you need to check all of the many accounts that you have and confirm that you don't have an account that is in a debit. And you don't necessarily need to have a credit score. I believe that if you go to the credit bureau, so if you check like credit bureau, you are able to see like it might not be a credit score that they will give you, but you're able to see your credit report. And then you're able to see if there's any credit that has been written under your name, if you have any overdue balance written under your name, and then you are able to clear that ahead of you actually applying to the loan for these companies. Because the thing about these companies are, I don't think they will tell you that the reason why they rejected you is because you have a negative balance. You are just going to be rejected. So I'm just saying you need to go ahead of time and check to make sure that those things are cleared first, so that you don't just get rejected when you apply for the loans. But all of these things are things that you can reach out to us about and speak to us about. Yeah. Messi, you have a question. Victor, sorry, did I answer your question?
Yes, yes, awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. So Messi, do you have any questions? Because you have your hands raised.
Yes, ma.
Okay. Hi.
Yes, I have a question.
Hi.
Okay, ma. Concerning I was trying to ask
Okay.
the GRE. I've been applying in some schools and I noticed that that exam is compulsory. So I want to know, for someone that is going to do accounting in probably in US, is it compulsory that you have to write the exam? And then if you want to write the exam, what are the procedure like? Will you write the exam, then you now start applying for the school? Yeah.
Okay. So yes, the truth, the reality is a lot of schools require you to take the exam. So look at it this way. The exam is a standardized exam, right? That you take to see how you stack with your classmates. So they're trying to standardize things to say, okay, how is this person's performance? Because you all are coming from different educational experiences. You have somebody studied sociology, somebody studied accounting, somebody studied biology, people have studied totally different things. So what they're trying to say is, okay, let's take this exam and see how everybody starts. So that's why it is called a standardized exam. Basically, that's why it's called standardized exam. Now, if your school requires you to take the standardized exam, then you need to take it. I know for a lot of the masters in accounting programs, they actually need you to take it, the GRE or the GMAT, because the program is a quantitative exam. So if you actually want to go do a quantitative course, then you need to take a quantitative exam, right? There's no beating around the bush, right? A lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to take the exam. Think about it. If you don't want to sacrifice to get to your goals, what exactly do you want to do? Nothing good comes easy. You need to sacrifice to get to that goal that you're thinking through. You need to actually sacrifice. So if you're not ready to actually sacrifice, then you're not ready to actually achieve that goal that you're desiring. So I would say that yes, there are not a lot of schools are not asking for your GRE or for your GMAT, but if you want to do a MAC program, a Masters of Accounting program, which is a very great program, and the requirements are you need to take your exam, then you take the exam. So I would advise, yes, you take the exam before you do your applications, right? Because if you have an application deadline for January, they expect that you submit your exam results with all of the applications, like with your essays, with your resume and everything, right? There are cases where people are able to submit their test result a few days after the deadline, that's after they have submitted other part of their application. There are cases like that, but not in all instances, right? So this is where you're going to be working with your school, and then you're going to be asking the school what they can do for you from a requirement perspective. But I always advise, especially like you're young, even if you're not young, right, you're trying to get something, right, you need to work to get that thing that you're trying to do. So just go take your exam, put in a lot of effort, get it done. It helps prepare you for the realities, because nothing good comes easy. And even if you move to the US, you come to school, getting a job is a different ball game. So you're not being able to make sacrifices enough to take your exams at this point. Does that mean you're not going to make sacrifices when it comes to getting a job? Like, you need to be able to do that work. So Messi, go take your exams. If all of the schools that you have reached out to have asked for those exams, so go take the exams, figure out when your deadline is. I advise, don't apply later than January. There's some February deadlines, yes, but even if you have deadline of April, May, as an international student, if you're an international student, April, May deadline is not going to help you, because when are you going to get your visa? When are you going to get into school? You'll probably not be able to make you'll not be able to make it into school in the right time. Yeah. So if Sudin, you have a question.
Hello.
Yeah. Hi.
Good morning.
Hi. Good morning.
Yeah, my question is about the student loans option.
Okay.
You mentioned your student loan that are not consigned. Yes.
And
You
yes.
mentioned about Empower Prodigy.
Yes.
I want to ask, what about the accent? You write that it is
No,
either consigned or
so for the accent is co-signed, and I think for the accent you need to be like a US citizen or a green card holder actually. So it's basically
what about the
Prodigy is Empower Prodigy and another company called 8B, like the letter 8 and the number the number 8 and the letter B rather. So 8B financing, three companies that I know need a co-signer. 8B, yeah.
8B.
8B.
Okay,
8B
letter 8.
Or yes, number 8 and letter B.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
8B is particularly for Africans, though, not just international students, it's Africans. So you need to be an African person aside from being an international student. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. That's my question.
Okay, all right, awesome. So yes, we are right on time. We have included all of the links. If you don't have any more questions, have a great rest of your day. If you want to reach out to us, you can send us a message on WhatsApp. You can send us an email. You can request for a one-on-one with the link that is provided in the chat. You can also request for access to our ebook, and we are going to be very excited to respond to you. So thank you all so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a great weekend.